My balls smell funky today. Ripe.
Listen, man.
Wow. Ripe for the picking?
There are showers. Ripe for the picking, like luscious cherries. You just pull as hard as you can.
Grip them and rip them.
Grip them and rip them. Man. Maybe I feel like that's what Hannibal used to say. You know, Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just grip them and rip them.
Another one, whatever.
Hey, we're good to go. All right, clink, clank, clink,
clank, clink, clink, clank, clink, clink. Oh, there we go.
Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. After that awkward introduction, I am one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalfe. Along to my right,
Handsome John.
On the backswing, and on the left,
the dispatcher, Mark Plover.
He's really catching that hernia himself. Of course, we come to you each and every week to talk to you about the nerdy video game news as well as the interesting, very cool tech news. Every week, of course, there's way too much to talk about because we don't have time to talk about the fact that AT&T is looking to sell WB Interactive Entertainment.
Because we want to wait until we know who buys them.
No, wait. I was say prediction on who's going to buy them? Disney.
Oh, that would make so much sense, but be terrifying at the same time.
Yep. Right, yes.
Oh, Rocksteady making a Disney game. Okay, we also don't have time to talk about the fact that the Comic-Con not only is canceled, but DC's doing their own thing called the Fandome. We don't also have time to talk about PAX Online replacing PAX West and PAX Australia.
Disappoint.
We do have time to discuss what we like to call on this very show each and every week what we deem amongst ourselves the important shit. I said it. I said just for you guys. I said just for you guys. I'm sorry.
You had to say
the important.
The important. Okay, we make this less awkward by moving forward for the three viewers. Of course, we're gonna start off with the dispatcher himself, where he's talking about a new car key designed by Apple, which means it's going to cost you $300.
Going to cost you $300. Actually, it's more like it's going to cost you $1,000. But that's just the Apple tax, of course. Nothing out of the ordinary here. So this is based off of a finding in the privacy information for the new Apple iPhone update 13.5.1, which is actually the bug or patch that's supposed to be in place for the jailbreak find, the jailbreak loophole. It's supposed to close that hole. So the privacy policy was updated to include specifications for a feature called Car Key, one word, CARKEY. And the whole point is that it's either using Bluetooth or NFC technology for you to have access to your car through your phone or your Apple Watch. Whatever feature you have. And it actually goes into pretty deep detail anyway. On the high level, basically your device has a key, a digital key that's registered with your car. And whenever you tap your device to your car, it's supposed to transfer that key to show who it is. And basically the first app that's shown anyway, or the first car that's really shown for this type of feature is a BMW i8.
Okay.
And that was found from some screenshots with iOS 14. BMW, Mercedes, I'd expect them to be one of the first ones to do it. Tesla, of course, has their own way of doing things currently using Bluetooth 4.0, now Bluetooth 5, low energy, where it's, proximity based, that kind of thing. But the idea is that you don't have to constantly be transmitting for that kind of thing. You don't have to be constantly transmitting for that type of device.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So if you're using NFC, one, it's more secure because for somebody to steal NFC information, you have to be this close. Like you have to be within 2 inches basically of the device.
I just have to lay my phone on top of your phone while we're at a restaurant or something, and they don't notice for only a few seconds. That's cool.
Not even a few seconds. It's like, I don't know, an eighth of a second.
You go in for a hug, and it's like, "What's up, buddy?" And you just side swipe right there on their belt holster, and it's like, "What's going on?"
I could see you just like press, like you got your phone in your pocket, just anyway. Let's
move on. Is that your phone, or you just happen to see me?
That's why I don't use a belt holster anymore.
But
yeah, because your pants are protecting you. They're lined with NFC protection gear.
100%. I use nothing but lead-lined pants whenever I go anywhere. I don't know about you guys. This show has made me more paranoid than I've ever been in my entire life.
Anyway, the whole point of the feature. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
No. So the whole point here, of course, is setting up car key any way you literally pair with your car, pair your device with your car, using NFC. The key that you get is unique to each car carrier and each car carrier, each car manufacturer that you register with. So like if you own a Ford and you own a Lexus, that kind of thing, the keys for those are technically separate. The digital keys are technically separate for those, and your phone contains both of them. You know, it just knows which one it's connecting to, kind of thing. But I think it's kind of neat that this is something they're implementing, and it's actually going to get implemented into the Apple Wallet feature. And the reason is because Apple Wallet uses NFC pretty regularly to pay with your card. It makes sense to put it in there, but I do find it interesting. This is something that they're looking into anyway, integrating with the operating system.
What's fascinating to me is that so I just bought a brand new Hyundai. I was very excited about it. They the first thing they pitched to you is like, oh, you get the Hyundai Blue Link app. All you have to do is get the app and you have access to it. But that is a specific application I have to download. I have to access it. Well, having it built in from a...
It's a cloud-based feature too.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas having something that is built in to utilize the hardware of the actual phone and is universal, right? I mean, any car manufacturer that's willing to buy into this will allow them access. You can utilize it for. So no longer do you have to do this.
The big move here is that Apple's making this decision to integrate it themselves, which is a huge implementation or a huge step anyway, just because most car manufacturers are probably going to get on board with this, because most of their iPhone users that come in to purchase a vehicle are going to be like, oh, do you guys support car key? Oh, you don't?
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe I'll go over to BMW then, you know, like that. And that's legitimately going to be the mentality. You know, Apple's a lifestyle brand. They're not really they're as much as they're a technology brand, to be honest. But
100%.
So manufacturers are going to have to get on board with this. So I find this is an interesting feature to probably come here in the next, I'd put it in the next 2 to 5 years, just because car manufacturers are a little behind. Now, that being said, if it's finally showing up in their privacy policy, that means the software here coming out soon, probably iOS 14, which is talked about for the end of the year, is probably going to implement it. And depending on the manufacturers that they've talked to, they probably already looked at integrating this into whatever coming new generations of cars would be coming out.
Yeah, like anybody who has a car like currently, you're not going to be able to utilize this. Or maybe if you bought one within 2020,
right,
maybe. But more than likely, it's going to be a while before it actually catches on. But it does make sense. I mean, as someone who, again, bought a brand new car recently, like, I don't have to pull my keys out. It's all the fob, the NFC fob and everything. It is incredible. Like, it is just so nice to be able to just, boom, access my car, boom, lock my car without even have to think about it. So if I don't even have to carry my keys, it's just my phone. That's dangerous.
Now, the thing that would be really cool is if that key, like much like the Audi that we have, the Q7, the key is actually response to a specific person. So that key, when you go in there and you log it in, it says, I like my seat this way, I like my steering wheel this way.
Oh, yeah.
So based on who's coming up to the car, it will set your car. If your phone could do that too, oh my God.
Well, and I mean, it'd be the same type of technology, roughly. Instead of it being a fob-based system, like a proximity-based system, you're just placing your phone, let's say, in a center console space that has wireless charging or wired charging or whatever. You place it in the middle, and that's your key. I think that's a neat integration, because then you the whole point of it too is the ability to share. So let's say you're going to let somebody use your car, or, you know, like Brent, you and the wife, you know, like you want to share that key or let, you know, her have access to the car as well. Well, you just share it to that person and suddenly they've got access as well. But the whole point, though, is that the car manufacturers are going to have their own app to be able to link and control this. So if you want to share it, you could share a restricted key to another person.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's similar to the way that you do it with Tesla. I mean, like Dylan has the Model 3 for Dale, and Crystal or Queen Crystal has the app as well, but she has her own key access that's separate from him, but he has control over that since he's the owner of the vehicle.
And that's how I'm able to drive it on the weekends when they're not paying attention, because Dylan just sits in his cave and he's like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and just work on content.
Why all this porn is in that vehicle, because he can lock it down.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Not a lot of room in that apartment of theirs for his porn collection.
So it's all in the trunk.
He's got a lot of junk in the trunk.
Yep. He's got a lot of junk in the trunk, and it's junk. That's junk in the trunk. So that's like 3 layers. We need to go deeper. We're done. That's it. That's the end of it.
Junkception. Anyway, no, neat feature. I'm excited for it. Can't wait to see it happen. I'm excited to see what Google responds with for Android.
I mean, yeah, they're going to have to do something along those lines, because every single feature that comes out, that rolls out, that is just literally, hey, this is going to be a quality of life thing for you, is going to have to go across the board. It's going to become ubiquitous, because why would it not? You know, we saw the same thing with wallets. We saw the same thing with, like, even if you look at like older technology like Bluetooth, like it's a similar fashion. Everyone starts to catch up in the long run because users want it.
Yep.
And as long as users want it and it makes it convenient for their lives, there's no way you're not going to do it.
See, you say that, except I've seen car manufacturers do a lot of weird things for a long time now.
Listen, that's because they're making 4-legged vehicles. They don't understand how the world works. They're so lost in the Stone Age. They're like, hey, these are basically stegosauruses that you drive in. And we're like, no, they can be sleeker. They can be better. We can make cheetahs. And they're like, I don't think so.
We could, but we could charge for a cheetah and still build a house cat.
Yeah, correct. Which is why I have a minivan. Please let us know what you think about the car key, all one word, coming to your iPhone eventually, maybe, in the comments floating above. Myself, like a burglar who is using my NFC chip to steal your car key. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Moving on to next topic.
For right now.
We're going to talk to you, Handsome John, about some DMCA takedowns happening on Twitch.
All right.
Boy.
So this isn't anything new. This happened in 2018. It happens on other platforms as well. Over the weekend, streamers got an email saying that they got a copyright strike on one or more of their videos. And that sucks because there's like a 3-strike rule on Twitch where you can get permabanned if they find that you're being excessive and problematic with their rules of engagement, because Twitch doesn't want to get sued because of a Digital Copyright Millennium Act.
Well, it's the reason why we can't stream on Twitch, is because we want to do nude streams and they don't agree with it.
Well, I mean, Alinity seems to do it just fine.
Music in the background with our nude streams. That's when they have a problem.
Oh, that's the problem. Okay, sorry.
Believe it or not, it's actually kind of sad. There was a quote from a lawyer that said, there he goes, Universal Music Group and Warner have invested into a company that is monitoring every stream on Twitch. And the attorney's name was Noah Downs. During the stream hosted by Twitch Director of Creator Development Marcus DeWitt Graham, they have the ability to issue live DMCAs. But the problem is the enforcement's not there in order to be that reactive. So, but that's the thing. These companies are investing actively to hurt these people because they don't want their music associated without being paid. And we have heard instances where restaurants also get ratted out somehow for just having music playing while they're at the restaurant and them not getting paid for their music playing there.
There are actually people, and this is not a joke. It seems like a joke. It's not a joke. Their job is to go to restaurants, and they actually travel around like a specific area, and they go and listen, and they try to basically talk to customers and people who work there to determine how they're getting their music provided, because you have access to things like Prime or other things. But Prime is meant for a non-commercial use.
Spotify
so if you're
as well,
using... Yeah, so if you're using these features, you can actually be fined, or they come after you for a legal standpoint. And their job is to figure out which restaurants or other, businesses are not doing this the legal way. And I use quotes because, yes, I understand there is a legal precedent, but it's kind of fucked up also on how all this comes together.
When I listen to Dre, it makes me want to go get wings over at B-Dubs, okay? This is why I listen. This is why I come to B-Dubs. I want to listen to Dre while I eat wings. Get off my ass. But also the same thing happens with Disney. Like, for instance, there was a charity event over at a school where they were watching they sold tickets to watch The Lion King. Small group of people, whatever. And then Disney came in like, yo, it's $200. It's like, we made $175 for the charity. Like, get out of here. What do you want
Years ago, there was a child care center in Florida that was sued by Disney because they painted Disney characters on the wall. I'm not joking. Like,
that's an artist rendering.
What?
They're
and they made no money on that. How are they doing that?
I honestly don't understand the legal implications of this. I just remember the news story came up, and I was like, "What?" I will find it, and I'll put it in our description, flag above mark, like a confused cloud.
Below. At what point does a higher level exec look at the headline that says that their own company is suing some small charity for paintings on a wall and go, okay, you guys are being a little excessive here?
For the same reason a fifth grader on the playground likes to slap around a third grader.
So what they did is they said that you can either pay us or remove it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were talking to the Twitch staff and telling them their best option is basically to delete all of their clips. And some people have years worth of content on there. Correct. And there's nothing they could do about it.
Because I remember hearing about Soda Pop, and a big streamer had talked about the DMCA takedown notices, and about how he was really annoyed because part of the three strike system is if they find some of his older videos and he has some content that belongs to them, well, that's a problem now because suddenly he's got 6 DMCA takedowns that are against him. Well, how does that work?
It's my problem, and we've talked about this a lot with YouTube specifically. We really don't delve into Twitch a whole lot, but maybe because we use YouTube as a platform. But it's the automation behind all this. And granted, the amount of content you're creating, the amount of people on there, there has to be a level of automation, but the lack of human interaction and looking at this stuff requires it to be this huge big deal. Like, this story came out because of the fact that nobody was checking these streams realistically, and now all of a sudden they are. It's like, oh, well, everyone gets hit. Well, now it just screws you because you may have known the rules, but you don't necessarily know the fine line on the rules, right? Like, there's a portion of this I'm not allowed to use, or the rules changed over time. Now it's impacting you. Like, how do you do this? How do you handle this situation? And it's not fair to a lot of the creators on here because it feels like the rug's being pulled out from underneath you.
Especially because no one's watching the creator to listen to the music. I could understand if you literally just had a guy sitting there playing the discography of, specific, artists and saying, enjoy your free music. Deuce.
Yeah. It's like if you were like, oh, I'm going to stream Netflix and we're going to watch, the entirety of a movie. Like, that's not what people do.
For video games to begin with. That we are playing video games, and because we are giving something and we are modifying what we are doing and what we are showing in order to be different content. So it's technically not the same. But it is what it is. There's also false DMCA takedowns that are also happening. So people don't even know if they're legitimate or not.
Jeez.
So, and Twitter's not even able to, come up to the plate and say, hey, we've come up with this. This is, no big deal. Don't worry about it.
So Twitch, right?
Twitch,
not Twitter.
Sorry.
Twitch,
yeah. I just make sure. Yeah.
What did I say?
You said Twitter.
Yeah. The problem with DMCA takedown notices, though, is it's legal action. It's legal precedent type action where if you're filing for a DMCA takedown notice, regardless of whether or not it's valid, it has to be removed at that moment, or it has to be inaccessible at that moment. And the problem is that it can't be fought until an appeal happens. Now, the issue is that how that DMCA takedown notice works on websites is a little different, because Twitch would have to go to bat for it, because technically the DMCA takedown notice isn't against the streamers individually.
It's against Twitch.
It's against Twitch. So,
which is,
do the streamers have to get Twitch to fight on their behalf, or how does that work?
Twitch doesn't want to. They would.
Exactly.
This is what
right?
you have to do, otherwise you were going to be permabanned.
Yeah, Twitch, YouTube, like every one of these platforms, they don't want to have to deal with the hassle because it requires money out of their pocket. And so they're sitting here going, guess what? You as a content creator have to deal with these laws. And I think that's the problem in general, right? Nobody really wants to fight this battle because it's an expensive battle. It's a long battle. But realistically, we do probably need to relook at our laws and figure out how these things work.
So the only one that I can recall anyway that a platform had actually come back and fought on behalf of its content maker or content producers was YouTube. There was a DMCA takedown notice that had gone up, and I'm rough on this. Don't quote me on it. If you want to check it out, the YouTube channel Legal Eagle did a video on it. Talking about YouTube going to bat for one of its content creators, where the content creator was doing like movie reviews or something like that. There was a DMCA takedown notice that was issued because of the content of the video that was put up, like that kind of thing, because there were clips from the movie in it. And the idea was, well, it's movie content that needs to come down. And the court actually, YouTube had to go to bat for them, because it was like, well, no, like there's a lot of YouTubers that we have that do movie reviews. We don't feel like this is violation of copyright law, like, and it's not the holistic content. So like, what's the problem here? So they actually went to bat for them and won. Now, the fun fact about DMCA takedown notice is if you win an appeal, the issuing company has to pay your legal fees and everything as well. So whatever company it was that lost the lawsuit had to pay the legal fees of every lawyer that YouTube, aka Google, employees at that point that would have been on that case. So that's interesting. But it was interesting to see a platform go to bat for them. The problem with Twitch is I don't think Jeff Bezos and Amazon really give a shit enough to go to bat for their content creators like that, because enough of their content creators exist and continue to make things that aren't problem worthy. So it's worth it for them to just whatever, let's remove them.
Jeff Bezos has made it very clear he doesn't care about sanctity of life, let alone Twitch creators.
Yeah, anything. Well, and there also becomes the complication of, I mean, Google is also involved in this, but we have large corporations who make deals with artists, all right? You know, you've got Google Play Music, you've got Amazon Music, there are streaming services, they're trying to bring exclusive deals here. So of course they're going to want to protect those clients, because guess what? If you're talking to, I know Jay-Z's not in the game, but I'm not very up and hip with the fucking music game anymore. But let's say Taylor Swift, right? If you're trying to get Taylor Swift off of whatever platform she's on onto Amazon Music, and she is issuing, her lawyers are issuing DMCA takedowns because there's a bunch of people using it on Twitch, then yeah, of course you're going to go, no, we want to protect the money bags compared to the creators.
Yeah.
Like, it's a conflict of interest like no other. And
Twitch doesn't make them that much money because they still have to turn around and give a lot of that money back.
Yes.
Like
correct.
the only money that Amazon makes off of Twitch directly that I can see anyway is ad revenue. So whenever you load a stream, a high profile stream, you'll see an advertisement at the beginning. That advertisement does not pay to the creator or the streamer. The only thing that does is subs, and even then subscriptions. Twitch still takes a cut of that. So and Apple and Google does, too, if depending on what platform you subscribe on. But like it's like the problem with Twitch here in this instance is that they don't care. And the issue is that we've seen this whole thing come up with the pop-up of Mixer and the pop-up of YouTube Gaming, where again Twitch seems to be the platform with the most amount of momentum. So no one's going to care. They're going to continue to come back to Twitch. They're going to continue to deal with the problems, and it's just going to perpetuate like that. Well, and that's really it.
These are going to perpetuate and possibly even affect some of the content that's being provided. For instance, the reality of the situation is a lot more complicated in the fact that people watch TikToks, they watch YouTube videos, they have, watch video games, and they have music in the background. So if all of those things are producing sounds and you're reacting to these videos, or people are saying, hey, we want you to watch this and tell us what you think, and it's a part of this interaction, well, any of those will also be a part of the DMCA liabilities that are going on with Twitch. So that's going to hurt those people that, are completely on that service, and there's no real good way to get around it. That's the problem. There's no way to get around it for that type of content.
Yeah.
So unless they do stand up for them and say, hey, there's got to be some reasonability here. And when it comes to the actual stuff in the background, say if you're playing games, you have options. For instance, I follow a company on Twitter called Bass Beats, or
Bass Beats.
Bass Beats. No, it's Bass. BASS. I know. I keep saying bass.
That's also bass.
That's bass.
What?
BASS is bass.
It's also
BASS.
bass and bass are both spelled the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. That's weird.
Yep. It's definitely bass beats.
It makes more sense, but I just keep saying bass, and I'm like, whatever.
No, for the hilarity of it, let's just keep going with Bass Beats. I love it.
It is Bass Beats. It's got a fish thing on it anyway.
It's just fish in water slapping the water.
Wait, it does have you said it does have a fish icon?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, well then it might be Bass Beats.
He's such a liar. It does not.
Tried to. They have non-trademark and copyrighted music that you can use on streams and stuff, and you're not going to run into this DMCA bullshit. And to be honest, I think with a lot of people like that should be standing up would be people like Ninja, people who are making money on
100%.
These services need to stand up and say, hey, artists, can we come to some kind of agreement what is acceptable and not acceptable? But the problem is it's not even really on the artists. It's on their labels. It's on their publishers.
Well, but if the artists band together, right, if you set a standard, if you're, PewDiePie, Dr. Disrespect, and everybody else who is making money on Twitch, like the real people who like proliferate the brand, and you come together and say, hey, here's the best way we can protect ourselves. We're going to work with these creators and other companies to make sure that we're using this background music, and also we need to work together. I mean, essentially it's like an informal union, right?
Yeah.
Where you're still able to have a little bit of power because you could argue Twitch, because if they stand against Twitch, I understand they make their money with Twitch, but Twitch makes money off of them as well. Yeah. If everyone comes together, you have bargaining power. You can say, hey, this is what matters, this is what makes sense, and this doesn't make sense.
Because
literally the definition of a union.
People have to keep getting cranked on this stuff. They're going to leave Twitch and they're going to be like, this isn't worth the hassle. Go f yourself. I'm going to another platform. And
100%.
Once enough people go to another platform, everything will move on. And Jeff Bezos will be sitting there with his cock in his hand going, I have too much money to care anyway.
Yeah, you're only as strong as your people are. And I mean, it's a very common thread on this show that we talk about all the time. That companies very much don't understand this. However, it's true, right? Like, if you don't have the actual content creators wanting to come here and discuss things, like, then how are you going to have any sort of revenue? You're going to have people coming in. Like, there's no reason for people to come here. So there should be some protections for them. I am with you, John, where it's like, hey, you should listen to this full album. Or, hey, I'm talking for an hour on Twitch. I'm literally doing nothing but discussing, but I'm sitting here listening to like the newest Eminem album. I don't know, whatever. But like whatever artist it may be, yeah, that's kind of dumb. But there are so many games we know too where they bring it, like Rock Band's a great example. Rock Band's literally nothing but licensed games.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater
is another one, which is about to come in September. Like, how do you handle those situations? Because it's not your fault that the game developers, the game that you purchased, is what you're creating content around.
So I was waiting to. I was waiting to. So I was waiting to bring this up. So not that long ago, Dylan and I had done a live stream for NBA 2K20.
Come on, Sam.
Fun fact. So what we had going on, since NBA 2K20 doesn't have a spectator mode, is we had the individual guys playing, because they play on PS4, had them live streaming from their PS4s to Twitch, and then we would pull the feeds from there. Fun fact, NBA 2K mutes every sound, every voice, every crowd cheer, everything except for a couple of things. The ball squeak against the floor, not the ball dribble sound, like the bounce sound, but the ball squeak sound if it squeaks, or shoe squeak sound, and the horn in the stadium. So apparently it's been like that since 2K14, and it's only if you stream it from PS4 that they mute those particular audio tracks because of licensing issues.
What?
But they'll still show the stadiums, which have brand names all over the place,
everywhere. Yeah.
Well, you paid for that, I guess.
So, like, I would get it if they stopped doing the music tracks, that kind of thing. But NBA owns the tracks to the announcers that announce what's happening, which we're looking for was the announcer sounds, or even just the dribbling sound, or the crowd cheering, or some of the basic
advertisers. That's why they don't give a shit, and that's why one reason why games don't really care that we're playing on Twitch is because it's a free advertisement. Assuming that you don't have someone like PewDiePie spouting off the N-word every 5 seconds, they're perfectly happy with other people playing their games in public.
He's Swedish. He doesn't know racism.
What?
Really?
I'm kidding.
Pretty sure the Nazis were really close to Sweden. They had a whole thing up in the Alps right there,
That must be what he told Disney, but
that is correct. Yeah. Well, they don't work with them anymore, as far as I understand it. Speaking of Disney, we do have a roundabout back to the story. So I found out in 1989, the Walt Disney Company discovered that 3 Hollandale, Florida daycare centers had a 5-foot likeness of trademark characters, including Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy. Disney threatened to go to court at these centers if they did not remove the drawings, but the threat of legal action did not need to be carried out because the centers replaced the drawings with cartoon characters belonging to Universal Studios Florida and Hanna-Barbera Productions, who volunteered their characters as a public ploy.
Ooh.
Boom. Eat shit.
Fantastic. So yeah.
Got him.
We all knew Disney was a piece of shit. Now you know more. Please let us know what you think about the massive DMCA.
Just Dance. How are you going to play that game?
Yeah, you can't. That's how it comes down to it. You can't. But let us know what you think about the massive DMCA takedown on Twitch. What are your thoughts? Do you think that we need to reevaluate how this is handled? Should Twitch be liable? Should we actually have a conversation as a community, as streamers, as content creators? Let us know in the comments floating above me like a very happy cloud, because I'm feeling so bubbly.
Since everybody's in the mood to really just tell everybody to fuck off, I just say just stop listening to stop buying their music.
With you 100%.
Yep.
Moving on to our final topic of the show. This is my topic, and it is about the Guerilla Collective and IGN Summer of Gaming. Now, I know there's actually a section of the internet that does not enjoy IGN. That is fine. I am not here to talk about the validity of IGN as a review sector or not. However, what they have done with the Guerilla Collective, I think, is one of the most interesting things we've seen for a replacement for E3. The Guerilla Collective, if you do not know, is a group that works with indie... Actually, I'm sorry. They don't actually specify. They work with game publishers and developers in general. So they don't really care what your size is. If you need help in any regard, they're here to work with it. They've been together since 2013 and have been working on things such as, they have a podcast they run every week. They do all these other things where they help build trailers and distribute the knowledge to larger outlets such as IGN. But they partnered this summer in lieu of E3 being out of the way, to work with IGN on their Summer of Gaming, and did 3-hour and 45-minute conferences. And I mean this when I say conference, because they are literally hitting you with tons, game announcement after game announcement after game announcement for 3 days straight. I mean, I love E3. I've been around. I mean, John, Mark, you both know me. I literally would take the day off or would work around my work schedule to watch.
We actually planned on going to this year's E3 a while
We were
back.
talking about it. Yeah. Obviously that did not happen.
Yep.
But this conference schedule was actually somewhat exhausting partly because I didn't catch it in time, but also because there's just so much content. So 3 days, I put a link to one of the videos in the YouTube playlist. I'm hoping it carries the rest of it through from IGN, simply because if you do want to witness the entirety of it, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny does a host. They have a host from the Guerilla Collective. It is entertaining. But there are some highlights I specifically want to talk about, and then we're going to talk about the structure and what that means for E3 going forward. But day one started with a System Shock new trailer and gameplay. Now, if you don't really know what System Shock is, it's an older PC game. It's what has inspired BioShock, hence the name kind of carrying over. And it looks really cool and actually much slicker than I expected it to be. John, I see your notes here. You reminds you of Dead Space.
Yeah, a little bit. Had with the monsters, the way they were kind of creeping out of places and stuff, and it reminded me of BioShock 2, but that was the evident part of it, so I didn't put that in there. And a little bit of Doom qualities as well with the weapons. Not necessarily as bombastic as Doom, but just the way that the feeling was with the movement and the shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. Almighty Kill Your Gods, which looks like a killer action RPG.
Yeah.
You're playing as this weirdly armored, almost demonic armor character, and you're running around, you're building a village, you're defending your village, but also working on taking down these larger entities and just demolishing it. And again, we have links in our description to the various articles that have all these trailers. I'm not going to sit here and try and describe every trailer to you, but just hit some highlights.
Version of Castle Crashers is what that was.
Yes, it looks great. It looks real great. Roki, which is a very cute, very creepy, fairy tale story, which is very Scandinavian. If you don't know, the Scandinavian fairy tales are very, very disturbing. A Juggler's Tale, which looks really nice. It's a 2D puzzle platformer game where you play as a puppet on strings. And so because of that, you actually have to think about your strings when you're doing something. So you can't go underneath lips or bridges or anything.
Yeah.
Because your strings will hinder you. So you have to figure out ways to go around stuff.
Kind of like
Seems
Unraveled,
very cool.
where you had a limited amount of string, and it was all you could do different things with it to swing. It's really cute.
Yep. Lake, which takes place in 1986 in Portland, where you're driving around as a delivery person. It is Death Stranding in the real world.
Yeah.
I love it.
The end gets dark though.
Hey, I thought it was an interesting idea of it's literally just life simulator, but your job is already assigned to you as a male as a male person. Yeah. So
yeah,
I thought it was interesting that a male carrier.
There you go.
No, I found it interesting. I guess that the type of story. I guess there's a really interesting plot behind it too.
Well, it also seems to me this is one of those where it's it seems very artistic. I would not be surprised if the main character is going through some stuff, but she works through it by talking to other characters.
Yeah, because she talks, because the description talks about changed her life now, filling in for her dad, a male carrier, and from the preview you don't see the father at all. So I'm curious there. So.
Yeah, it looked cool. I think it's honestly one of my personal highlights, simply because I love.
Abel.
Oh, hello, Abel. Abel.
Who's Abel?
What are you doing?
For those who are listening to the audio, a dog has entered the camera screen, so we have to turn all of our attention to the dog right this second.
It does not matter what the news is.
Right now, don't you?
Abel is the important.
Abel is the important indeed. Moving on to Boyfriend Dungeon, which is a PC game that has been announced previously. I believe there was an actual beta out there or early access, but they're finally coming around to releasing on Switch and PC. And this game is wonky, and I love every second of it because it's a dungeon crawler / dating sim, where you go around and you attack all these enemies until you cannot go further. So you basically traverse the dungeon until you die. And then when you die, you come back to the real world where you will date your swords. And they made a point to be very inclusive. It's it's going to be transgender, those people who identify however they want, male and female. So, but I still think it's very interesting. I would love to see where that goes. I love dungeon crawlers, that alone. And I've become more open to social aspects in games, Persona being one of those major reasons. So it could be fun. I'd be curious to see where it goes.
It reminds me of Gauntlet Legends with romance.
Yes, agreed. In between the dungeon areas.
I'll meet you in the cellar.
I wanted to point this out. Slay the Spire made a mobile announcement, which I wasn't really big on the mobile announcement itself, but the Guerilla Collective, this entire 3-day section, was set up to basically work with devs on whatever they wanted to talk about. So unlike E3, which I would argue most of the time is centered around PC games coming to console or new console announcements, this was literally like, hey, did you want to have a discussion? Did you want to tell consumers something? We will put it in. So Slay the Spire is a great example. Yep. Slay the Spire has done nothing other than they just released an iOS version, which is cool. There's plenty of other places to play it, but what's the other one? Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium announced that they're going to be on the Epic Game Store. They're on the Epic Game Store now after this announcement, but they actually worked with the collective to basically give them a small spotlight. We're talking like a minute and a half. Like they had a trailer, but it's cool that they're willing to give these people, basically anybody who's coming to them, a stage, right, where they can talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baldur's Gate had new gameplay plus a beta window, which looks like it's going to be in August. This is Baldur's Gate 3. There's plenty of hardcore PC RPG people who are looking forward to this. I love the end of the trailer. Yeah, I love the end of the trailer because they're like, early access in August, maybe. Like, we'll see. We'll figure that out.
It looks like it'll be interesting. I want to see gameplay and stuff. But
yeah. West of Dead, John, I think you wanted to talk about this one.
Yeah, West of Dead looks amazing. It's got, what's his name? God, he's making fun of Ted Cruz right now, hilariously.
Oh, Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's voice playing the main character. It's kind of got a little bit of a Bastion feel to it with the narration. Yeah. And the gameplay looks solid. It looks it's a top-down shooter, very strategic, and it fast-paced, but it looks very it looks like it has a lot of thought to it, which is kind of cool. So it's got a cool art design to it. I'm really excited.
Agreed. It looks really cool. I'm excited myself to check it out. Dwarf Fortress. Now this one was super interesting to me because if you don't know the history of Dwarf Fortress, it has been around for a while. It was starting with ASCII graphics. They have been starting to upgrade it, and they've moved the game so you can now purchase it on Steam. It is made by, I believe, 2 developers. So this is their first foray into it, and they are currently working on finishing up the new graphical style. But once again, giving a platform for devs to just kind of talk. Hey, we don't have a trailer, but here's what we're working on, and we want to talk to you about it as consumers. So I like that a lot. Fight in tight spaces. This game looks incredible. So it is a fighting, or it's really a puzzle game where you play as someone who is fighting in tight spaces, but you have a card deck that you draw from, and your deck determines what moves you can use. So you have to determine what move to use at the right time in order to kill all the enemies in the room. And, I was talking to the boys about this before the show. I love deck building games, despite the fact that I don't play a whole lot of them. I grew up on Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Pokemon card game, so anything that is similar to that is exciting. And this also is super stylized. Arguably one of the bigger trailers I would argue to go watch because it looks so good.
It's got a almost a Super Hot feel to it.
Yes,
with the color
yes,
scheme,
that's a great analogy.
Also gives it, because Super Hot was also a strategic, and your movement was based on time, whereas this one bases your movement on cards. But it's still a good feel. Absolutely.
And it looks like we got Ultra Kill as well, which looks like it's coming in with some OG. You say Doom graphics, I say PS1 graphics, but yeah, some dated graphics, but it's a great style.
Yeah, I would say PS1 is probably closer to it, but just the way that everything was kind of like the old school 3D graphics just made it feel like old Doom, super fast paced. I couldn't keep up. I was my head almost hurt.
It looks like Doom graphics meets the mechanics of GoldenEye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
There you go.
Yeah. It looks really cool. And again, I'm just, as we go through this list, I'm going to reiterate just how blown away I am because of the variety and the fact that there's so many people coming in here showing off some cool games. Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder, which looks like a wonderful, great little Metroidvania. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the IGN article does not actually have the trailer for this. I do recommend go look at the trailer because it's very, very good. One of my personal favorites from the show. After that was Haven, which is a 3D adventure game starring 2 characters. You're basically playing a couple where you swap between the 2 of them. I don't know if either of you really watched the trailer and noticed, but like the traversal mechanic had one of the couple holding the other's hand as they move through, which I thought was kind of fascinating. The world is a little bit more open, so it looks kind of like a smaller variation of Breath of the Wild, where you're just kind of exploring around and gathering materials. And then the combat is turn-based between the 2 characters, where you're trying to figure out exactly when's the best time you can have one shield the other while they attack and vice versa, but you can also do dual attacks or dual shields. It seems like there's a lot of cool mechanics that are at this point in time seem underbaked, but I'd be curious to see where it goes going deeper into the game.
It looked like the Colored of Severed with a little bit of flower nostalgia.
Yeah.
And then it had like a little like a romantic part of it as well in the off times, which is kind of cute.
Yeah. And then the final trailer for the end of day 1 was Just Die Already, which was a parody of the Death Stranding original trailer. So that's another one you have to watch. Yes. I cannot describe it. It's hilarious.
We wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah, there's some lovely little nods to Hideo Kojima in there. And
the subtext on this is the old people sandbox.
Yes, old people's sandbox game. That's all you need to know. Go check it out. But going into day 2, they don't stop. They don't stop.
I'm sorry. I missed a word in there. Old people mayhem sandbox.
There we go. There we go.
The old people mayhem sandbox.
Yeah. But going into day 2, they don't stop. We have more games like No Straight Roads, which is a cool 3D platform adventure game, which also involves rhythm. Like, it's very well focused around music. Each boss is going to have some like very intricate styles to it. Looks great. Mark, I don't know if you saw, because you are a cat lover, Gory Cuddly Carnage. But if you haven't, oh my God, that was
so creepy though. It's so creepy. Because at first I was
got fingered vibe.
At first I was watching this and I was like, oh well, you know, like little like ponies and some and you know like some like really like not, I wouldn't say it's grungy looking, but like it's very like artistically styled but realistic looking. You know, I guess it's a hard way to describe. But
they accentuate like, certain things that are like creepy.
But then the pony legs started growing after they were on their hind legs. And then they started to grow demonic wings, and I'll leave the rest to people who want to watch the preview.
You should totally watch that.
You should watch the preview. All you need to know.
Because at first I was like, oh, this looks like it'd be a great game for the girlfriend. Oh, never mind.
Anthropomorphized cat on a skateboard that attacks things. That's all you need to know.
And the attacks looked awesome. Like the actual fighting capabilities are great. It's like DMC via cat.
Yes, exactly. I was blown away. I was like, man, this game looks killer.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So, big fan. Metal Hellsinger, speaking of which, some like gory ass shit. Metal Hellsinger is a Doom-like first-person shooter, but it's rhythm-based with metal music. Yeah. And Troy Baker is the weapon that the main character uses, so he narrates the game. Like,
That's
it looks so cool. I am not a person.
It looks insanely repetitive, though. Like, I just felt like he was going nowhere.
That's what I'm curious about, right? Because like the way Doom works is that there's a rhythm, especially Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, which just came out this year. Mm-hmm. There's a rhythm where you are in the middle of combat and you have to swap weapons to get things. So if you want to get health, you swap to your I've not played these games, so I could be wrong on how this works, but the mechanic style is the same. Where like if you want health, you swap to your chainsaw and you cut people and that drops health. If you want armor, you swap to your shotgun and it gives you health by dealing damage. So like you have to really time things appropriately for the challenge that's going on. And so I really hope there's something along the lines, because just getting a higher score based on the rhythm isn't as exciting or sexy.
Yeah, agreed.
Like
the score chase doesn't seem right on that. But it does have a multiplier for kills, so there might be some benefit to the end of the round or level or whatever.
Yeah, there's some cool shit. So I definitely think there's more to look into on that game for sure. After that, we got Evans Remains, which is the clear antithesis to Metal Hellsinger, which is it is a 2D pixel art platformer that's very much in the vein of Fez. Like as soon as I saw the trailer, I started thinking about like it doesn't look like there's combat. It's almost all puzzle solving. It's very relaxing. It's on an island with the beachy noises. It looks great. It's perfect for my wife who loves Fez. So can't wait to check that out more. After that, we had Hundreds Days, which is a wine simulator. Now, I'm not a sim guy. I think we know this. But this game looks cool as hell. You literally build your own vineyard. You have to make sure you get all the grapes harvested at the right time, and then you work on the actual process, selling it. It's literally from the like bottom up, selling your own wine digitally, and it looks really, really cool. Very artistic
companies
too.
out there are struggling trying to find people into certain industries, and they're like, let's find out where these guys are, so we can go and offer them jobs.
Hey, that could be possible.
Yeah,
We then got a sequel to Read Only Memories, which came out on PS4, Vita, PSC, and a handful of other platforms. Read Only Memories, of course, stands for ROM. 2064, this is the sequel, which is Neurodiver. It does not look like many remaining characters from the original are coming back, but that game is so funky, weird from a like perspective of a very narrative-heavy game, as well as inclusiveness. The developers, I believe, are also non-binary. They work very hard to include every spectrum of sexuality in there. It's something that really struck me when I played through the game that I thoroughly enjoyed. So a sequel to that sounds fantastic. I mean, I think they'd already. I did, yeah, I did. I won't go back and platinum it, but I enjoyed it.
No?
It was fun. Yeah. There are plenty of fans of that game, and I think the sequel coming out, especially being on PC and PS5, it should really hit a stride. Unfortunately, we have some good and bad news next, which is Persona 4 Golden, one of the best games I've ever played, is now on PC. It's available on Steam as of today. It was actually available during the stream. However, it's literally taking away the highest rated PS Vita game from the PS Vita library.
There is no better Vita game than Spelunky. I never played this game, and I love the Vita. You don't need this game to love the Vita, okay?
But it does help.
For some
it does
people.
help.
For some.
I mean, on Metacritic, it has 5 points higher. Just putting it out there.
It's a really weird platform list.
It is incredibly weird. I agree entirely. But I'm excited to see Persona 4 Golden come out. John and I were talking about this before the show earlier today. Total, like the game has sold roughly over 2 million units. So seeing it come to a location. And honestly, this is not terribly surprising, right? We had Danganronpa did the same thing. The Zero Escape series did the same thing. Like every unique Japanese styled game has jumped from Vita to Steam, which is hilarious because they're very drastic approaches to games. Like most people play Steam. I shouldn't say most people, but a majority of people I know play Steam on their towers. So you're not taking it anywhere with you. So it's a little weird that you're like, hey, here's a handheld where you can go anywhere with it. And here's something you have to stay in place. Enjoy. Nonetheless, if you love JRPGs, if you love Persona 5, you never played 4, I highly, highly, highly recommend playing it. I loved 5, but 4 is better. Hands down, mic drop, gauntlet thrown. At me, I don't give a shit. Midnight Ghost Hunt looks really cool. It has an alpha in July. It looks like a first-person Ghostbusters game with more weapons and tools available to you. So
it looks like it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's launching Windows only, but I would not be surprised to see it on other platforms. But it looks really cool.
Nah,
Calico.
it's only going to Windows though.
Well, I'm sure it'll go elsewhere. Most of these games are going to launch in one location and end up elsewhere. I would be surprised otherwise. The next up is Calico, which, Mark, did you watch the trailer?
I did.
It's about cats.
It gave me anxiety.
So it's not just about cats, though. It's about all kinds of things. Like at one point, like she's making a cake, and at another point she's flying on a broom, and another point she's riding a bear, and then riding a fox.
Table set.
Yeah, and then walking into a house, and then what is happening? Like my favorite part of that was like where she's picking up a bear cub right in front of the mama bear, and I'm like, that's not how that would go.
Correct. Yeah.
That's not how that would. That's not how that
not
would
even
end
a little
at all.
bit. Not even a little bit.
The art style alone, I just felt like it was a meandering, never-ending
trailer
fluff of cloud. Like it just couldn't find its way.
This is why I wanted to include it, because it was so preposterous to me. I was like, who would think this is a good trailer? But here we are talking about it, so I guess that's good enough.
I don't know. I guess like, geez, like it's an interesting looking game. Yeah. My favorite, I think, was seeing the cat physics of the one character that's holding up the cat by its like armpits and just like shaking the cat back and forth a little bit, and you just see the body just tailing off or whatever. It was actually kind of neat, but it's not just about the calico cat. So
it's not.
I'm curious. So
yeah. After Calico, we got Lost at Sea, which looks like a really interesting narrative game. John, you're comparing it to Unfinished Swan.
Yeah, it just has that feel to it. The first person, you're moving around, you're going through a storyline, which obviously deals with life and death and experiences, and very much so like it seems to be like a personal journey, much like Unfinished Swan was, just with a young boy who is dealing with his experiences.
Stuff. Yeah. And, this is your podcast reminder to play Unfinished Swan. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good game.
After that, I saw Nuts, which I thought had a crazy aesthetic to it. It had like this very pastel, very contrasty look.
I've never seen that art style before.
At all, but you're playing a first-person surveillance game where you're monitoring squirrels. And so just from the little bit that the trailer showed, I was super intrigued because I want to know what's happening with that forest. That's got to be vodka, Mark.
Just from the phrase alone of it's a game about monitoring squirrels should be enough. I can't even describe the excitement level I had for something that seems so
mundane.
Yeah.
I simple. See a game like this going from something like that to following a storyline where it gets super creepy.
Yes, 100%.
And it's like, why are these? Oh my God, there's dead bodies everywhere. They've been eating them. Like, Jesus. My brain does weird things.
Another good highlight was Dreamscaper, which I agree with you, John. Looks fantastic. It's a nice little roguelike 3D graphics. It appears that the main character is sleeping and dreaming, and while he's dreaming, he's fighting through these dungeon areas. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Looks very cool.
It looks like the controls look really fun. I like the fight style. It's a little bit more different than you would expect. It's almost like a third person, a little bit farther away than you would see from DMC. But the art style is really cool. I like it a lot.
It's very striking. So I'm a big fan of that as well.
Absolver, I think it has a lot of the same kind of like aesthetics of Absolver.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it does look a lot like Absolver. Did you ever play that game?
I downloaded it and it was going to and started it and never got into it. It was like it was a fighting game, was it not? Yeah,
it looked interesting to me too. I just never got into it, so I was like, okay. Well,
I'm not into fighting games. I had to decide whether to delete it for another game, and I was like, I'm probably not going to.
We can talk about it after the show. Cyanide and Happiness Freakopolis. It's Cyanide and Happiness. If you do not know, this is a comic line that has been around forever. Explosum.net is where you used to be able to find them. I'm not sure
excited. Satire. If you can't handle that, do not look at this.
Oh yeah. This is arguably on the same level. They are still on Explosum.net.
I just opened it up too.
Yeah. They're the same level as South Park. So if you don't like that level of satire, do not get involved.
They get away with a lot more than South Park does. I'm going to say they're worse than South Park.
Like as soon as just opening the comic for today, immediately explain the John go to explosum.net. Oh God, it's really dark humor, really satirical humor.
100%.
If you don't have like a dark funny bone, you're really not going to enjoy it anywhere near as much. And I imagine the game would be right up that alley. So
100%, which is why I am personally excited for it, because I think it's very obvious on this channel we are very much into the dark humor. I'm going to move forward with the Edo no Yami, which looks fantastic, John. I agree with you entirely. A cyberpunk samurai awesomeness.
It kind of reminds me of what was that game that just came out? Never mind. I'm sorry.
The Last of Us Part 2.
No.
Okay, no, sorry, yeah.
It's Katana Zero. Kind of reminds me of like what the same aesthetics with Katana Zero, except this is a much more clean, crisper look, and it's 100%. Not necessarily about speed, but it looks really, really.
It looks different. Really good, and just from the logo, you should see like the nice Oni mask. It looks great. Later daters. I wanted to point this out because they did a whole section on Wing, which is a publishing company that works with helping basically minorities, whether it's sex or race-based, help publish their games they want to make. Huh. And Later Daters was hilarious to me, where it's funny because it's an awkward idea, but the conceit behind it is much more earnest, where they want to make a dating sim game where you play as, retiree folks in a retire home. And their goal isn't to make fun of them so much as is to kind of showcase like, hey, there are lots of complications and emotions that happen in this stage of life, much like when you're younger. And so they actually work with various people in their own lives to help make it happen. So it sounded like a joke originally, but I do believe there's a lot of good intent from this game. And I think it's very sweet, and I would love to see more of it. Again, I don't play a whole lot of dating sims, but I'd be willing to open myself up.
Yeah.
And then finally, we're going to talk about Pull Stay. Mark, you want to discuss this?
Straight up LSD trip. Straight up. It looks like Sims meets some sort of ragdoll simulator, apparently mixed with a beat 'em up, also mixed with the tower defense.
It's so good. It's so obnoxious. You should 100% check this out. Again.
What? Like, what is this?
Yeah, this is the other one that gave me anxiety. Like, I was like, no. Mm-mm.
Somebody else's large LSD trip. We do have a third day, but I'm not going to go into it simply because the third day is actually mostly preview events that are longer about a lot of content that was announced during the first 2 days. So what I would like to do is actually discuss what this means for E3, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like the Guerilla Collective and what IGN is doing for the summer showcase is going to replace E3. But I do think this is very important to note is that the Guerilla Collective, as far as I understand it, did not have anything planned for E3. A lot of these companies or various developers were going to be there. And when E3 was canceled, they put this together. And they had the help of IGN, which also has parent companies. There's money involved. But the ESA, which does E3 every year, which does various deals with different contractors, publishing, like all of this, could not put together an online showcase at all, or refuse to. One of the two. We really don't know what the situation is. But why would any developer who is involved with this want to show up at E3 next year? Like, there's no money involved as far as we know. Yeah. Or if there was, there's very little, because IGN took it on the chin, along with Guerilla Collective. Most of the announcements were large announcements, but I would argue, right, Disco Elysium and Slay the Spire came in for minor stuff. You wouldn't pay to have an announcement about a mobile port. Like, why would you? Not in this setting.
I mean, you wouldn't pay to set up a booth at a physical location to do a mobile conversion. I guess that's part of the point too. But I don't know. To me, I don't think E3 has much of a place other than like the companies that want to do big displays and shows and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that's really it. Is like, do you want to have a big display? Do you want to have a big show? And the problem is that E3 after this point is going to have to make themselves worth it. Yeah, like they're going to have to show, oh yeah, we've got pre-order ticket sales that are meeting this, that kind of thing. And we're reaching out to this many people, and this is our engagement and this, that, the other, to really make companies and vendors seem like it's worth it to them to come back to a physical presence where they don't make money. Literally all they do is just set up some display for people to come try a game or see a preview or a show or something, and I'm curious to see what that looks like from here. Because if you can do it online well enough, sure. But the other thing too is for the people who are diehards of like they enjoy going to conventions like that, they're going to go right back to that lifestyle.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do wonder though, because we have as of today, Steam has started their summer event, which I can't remember the name of it right now.
It's just called the summer event.
Oh, well, there you go. I did remember the name. Part of the summer event, though, is the fact that they are showcasing not just Summer Game Festival. Yeah, the Game Festival. They're not only showcasing various games, but they're basically giving developers a chance to demo their game through a live stream and then have that live stream recorded so people can come in and see it. That is essentially the same thing. And not that I'm trying to go anywhere against these live conventions. I actually don't mind going to these kinds of things. I think they can be fun. I'm the same person who loves going to live concerts and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I just, looking at how much of a banger this was, looking at PlayStation's event, looking at all of these online things that are orchestrated, and we're only halfway through June, and there's supposed to be content all the way through August from various developers. I just don't see how the ESA can make E3 valuable anymore, because it started as a press conference that has moved to a consumer conference, but has only been a consumer conference for 2 or 3 years and has full stopped because of a pandemic globally. Like, you can't predict this. I get that. But I would argue that there's some mishandling on their part that they didn't even orchestrate a digital event. Again, Guerilla Collective doesn't publish games. They don't make games. They just work with these developers. Why would the ESA not do something similar? How could you not? How could you not even have a platform or space where you're like, hey, every conference that's going on, just come to our YouTube channel, just to make it simplified?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about the most minimal effort possible.
Yeah, so, again, like I said, I'm just going to reinforce it. It comes down to experience. Do they want to give the experience? Is it valuable enough? Do they make enough money to offer the experience or not?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think the big thing is I've heard for years, and GDC is the same way, where they require money from the previous year to really make their event pop. And if they don't have that money...
the only way that the ESA makes that worth it is what their expenses look like between
now and
cycles.
Then.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what did it cost them to have to cancel? And how much did they save by canceling? And does that give them enough to the coming year? Or do they have to come up with some other financial strategy for that?
Yeah. I mean, because let's be honest, like, if you're the ESA, you have to rent out an arena somewhere in LA, because that's typically where it's held. That arena's back, but also any of that money that vendors gave you or anybody else who was going to be there, you have to give back. So where's that math end up? And yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, we'll find out, but I am super, after this event, after Sony's event, I'm very excited to see what other people do. We're recording on Tuesday, which is our normal day. Pokemon's going to have an event tomorrow where they're talking about, like, they've actually announced they're doing a whole broadcast, and it's the Pokemon channel. It's not Nintendo, which is different, so I find that fascinating. Xbox has their event in July. Like, if I truly believe that if enough companies pull it off, like, Sony walked away 3 years ago. Like, they said specifically, we're not doing E3 anymore. We're going to do our own stuff. And since then... You know, they fumbled a little bit, but I would argue this past week where we recorded last Thursday, like, they killed it. They have no reason to ever go back.
No,
the people involved with the Guerrilla Collective, I don't think they have a reason to go back. So I'm really curious to see what happens going forward.
It was on them to take the initiative, and they dropped the ball hard. And therefore, you know, it's just like anything else. Things rise and fall, and it's just...
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, like, PAX is doing that. Like, PAX realized that they can't have a PAX West and they can't have a PAX Australia, so they're doing a digital event because they want to keep it alive and relevant and do something. So
take the same money and turn it around into something else that's usable anyway that you can offer back to your customers. And by customers, I actually mean show vendors. So
correct, yeah. It's not a direct analog, but like the Niantic with Pokemon Go. I talk about them a lot because I play the game a lot. Their response to Pokemon Go Fest this year is, we're going to do it digitally. It's going to be $10 less a ticket, and it's going to be wherever you are. And granted, I don't know what they do next year because I don't know how you get away from that, because that's super dope for anybody to be involved. But what a great way to be like, hey, we realize we can't get together, or it's possible to get together, but it doesn't make sense in the long term. So here's the solution. We're going to keep ourselves relevant. We're going to keep this event relevant. So next year when we come back and say, hey, we're asking $25 because we want you to meet in a location, we mean like there's a reason why. And you remember from last year. So please let us know what
this thing will pass and things will start to get back a little bit to normal because people like the experience with the person to person.
I agree. I think the big thing is how do you keep.
I think E3 is done, but
yeah, I mean, like how do you keep yourself relevant in that time period? I feel like the ESA really dropped the ball, whereas again, PAX and Pokemon, they're like, hey, we're gonna keep it going.
I guess my closing point to that would be it depends on how big they make it. If they do a smaller event, maybe. But
yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true. So please let us know what you think about the Guerilla Collective event. Again, there's tons of content in the description floating above me, like a miraculous chakra.
Below. Do you guys see them possibly paying Microsoft and Sony to be like, we're going to pay you to be here to get the relevance back?
I don't think they'd have the money to do it anyway.
Correct.
Probably not, but I was just
curious. They don't. Let us know what your thoughts are. But I do believe it's now finally time for last call. Last call. That was really awkward. That was really weird. That was the worst one we've had this entire freaking filming. What happened? You don't have to go home, but you can stay here. Of course, you can tell we are all in our separate homes. So therefore, we have our separate special guest, which I had in my tiki mug, some Rain vodka, which is apparently gluten-free and distilled 8 times, which I do enjoy from time to time, as well as some Jameson, which is gone. I just had. John's walking away.
I guess it's me. I guess it's my turn. So I started out because Brent, I actually kind of took your advice because I started drinking this at the beginning. Was the Cabernet?
Okay.
The Robert Mondavi Cabernet. So at a certain point, I was like, this is too. I talked about it in the pre-show before we started recording. But I felt like it was too dry, so I made a kamikaze.
Ooh, there you go.
Kamikaze, for those who don't know, is as opposed to
another
a blue kamikaze.
Valid point, but please explain the ingredients.
Anyway, vodka. I'm using Tito's triple sec and lime juice.
Nice, very delicious.
Shaken over ice. Well done.
Should we tell them the Ireland story, Brett?
No, we can't. We have to move forward. John, what are you drinking?
Dos Equis, baby. It's
Dos Equis.
It's nice weather today, and I wanted to relax. And my doctor keeps telling me to back off the liquor.
Fun fact: Dos Equis means 2 X's, which is why there's 2 X's in the label.
My God, Captain Obvious, welcome to the team.
I didn't recognize that fact for years. Moving on to our deal of the week. Much like last week, we have another bundle that is based on fighting for racial justice. This one is from Humble themselves. It's a little bit more expensive. So rather than the $5 minimum, there's a $30 minimum. However, there's much larger titles, and this bundle includes some digital books as well as games. So you're looking at a roughly 50 different properties. Some of these games include the original BioShock, This War Is Mine, Sonic Racers, Spelunky, Baba Is You, the Jack Party Pack, Kerbal Space Program, NBA 2K20. All of this for $30 minimally. I just dropped $50 on it myself because it's tons of content, and of course I want to help a righteous cause. This again is going to 100% of the proceeds are going to charity. Humble is taking none of it, and they have a counter at the top stating that they have already earned $761,000 as of the recording of this show. So you can definitely find that in the description. I highly recommend it. I know last week was a plethora of deals. This one's a little bit harder to swallow because it's a higher price point. But if you have the money, you might as well. If you don't have the money, please let me know in the comments. There are 6 days left in this bundle. So by the time this episode airs, there will be about 2.5 days left. I will purchase a bundle for up to 3 people if they mention it in the comments. I have no problem doing so. So please let me know.
Hey, Brent.
What?
I'm going to mention you in the comments. I need you to get
well, I mean, just mention me in the comments. I'll be right there. We also have some cool shit. Looks like there is finally, for the first time ever, a game that can be prescribed for or for ADHD. This is a real piece of medication. The FDA has approved it, Endeavor RX, for using it for treatment of ADHD. Read the entire article. It is very fascinating. I will not be surprised if this is one of many games that come out for this. So, of course, the itch.io bundle I was referencing has finally closed, but it raised over $8.1 million, giving away over 1,700 games.
So I don't know if you looked. I don't know if you looked at itch.io. There is another Black Lives Matter support bundle.
Ooh, I did not.
So they had a $99,999.99 goal. It's currently at $103,646 dollars and 36 cents. The pack includes 2,500. I'm sorry. No. Where was it? It's much less stacked than the other one. It only includes 20 items, but it's $20.
Okay.
Currently a 63% savings. It's about a $55 value, but there is another one open.
Nice.
So I'm intrigued to see the contribution on this one as well.
Absolutely. Please.
But $8.1 million. That's
so much money.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know what? Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. 100%. The final little shout out for cool I wanted to point out was actually to Nintendo, which I don't do often. I try to keep this to like smaller little endeavors. But Nintendo released this week a free jump rope game for the Switch. So this is a free-to-play game in which you would use the Joy-Cons to jump, and it records your jumping and your highest score every day for like infinitum, right? So it's a free-to-play game. It is made by a bunch of devs who are working from home while during the pandemic in order to make sure that their consumers could have an outlet for physical exertion. So I thought it was really cool.
You're going to throw this in with the
supposed to get a couple of fans and attach the Joy-Cons to the fans and see if the counter can go.
What's wrong with you?
Best jump roper of all time, baby.
You going to throw this in with the VR workout there, bud?
I think so. I think that's going to be my next thing. I'm actually getting ready to hook up the Switch dock so I can use it.
There you go.
That was really cool. Yeah, super simple. And you know what? Working from home, having a 15-minute jump rope break, probably not a bad idea.
There you go.
But I think it's finally time for our question of the week, which is, what is a song that is a part of a piece of media, whether it be movie, television show, commercial, or anything else that you can think of that you just cannot get out of your head? So I was thinking about this earlier because during the PS5 conference, the Bug Snacks trailer dropped, and Twitter has been a fucking flame with Bug Snacks and people loving that song.
I was confused when I saw that. I was like, okay, it's one of those things that probably won't go anywhere. Boom, blew up, and I'm like, this is why I don't do business.
Everywhere. So what are some that get stuck in your head? And if you need a moment...
Oh, I don't need a moment. I've got a list.
I'm ready.
We got Ocarina of Time. I've got Mega Man X, and that is both the title music and the regular music. I mean, I'll be driving my car and be singing the like rain song from Ocarina of Time, or the time song, and I'm just like,
the Song of Storms. Oh man, I love that one.
And it's just so good. I mean, Mario in general. Yeah. I mean, like, it's just so easy. It just rolls off. You're bored, it creeps in there and will not freaking leave. There's a couple of other ones that really, like, I was reading a list earlier and I was like, oh my God, I can't get it out of my head. And one of them was 007, GoldenEye.
Okay. Burn out.
Yes, that's all you hear everywhere you go. It's like awful.
That's fair.
And then there was another one that I know that you were probably going to want, that you would appreciate, would be Portal.
Yeah.
That's Still Alive. Oh, my God. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh, there that goes.
And then I tell you, but I'm still alive. Yeah. What about you there, Marcus?
So I have three offhand that I can kind of recall. The first one, I'm a huge Battlefield fan, so the whole Battlefield intro, just constantly, just
now
all the
I
time.
think Terminator. damn it.
But like I listened to that intro song so many times between playing Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, or Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Hardline, Battlefield 1, everything. There was just so much. Brent?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be fair, there's also Pokemon. The original Red and Blue cart on Game Boy. That song will also just stick in my head from time to time. And it... Oh my god.
You haven't... Brent, you realize you drug your camera off your display there, bud, right?
I don't know what happened, man. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
It's going to be a great moment.
Fortunately, we're at the end where nobody's watching anyway. So
I guess so Brent, the way to fix that is in the sources list, right click, go to
Halo. Oh my god.
Go to transform and center to screen.
Yeah, it's fine. Every time I think of Halo, I think of
Charlie. Anyway, so Battlefield intro is definitely the first one. Second one, and it's something that it's not something I sing, obviously, because it's really kind of hard to, but something that gets stuck in my head every now and then is the Interstellar soundtrack.
Interesting.
Just that really heavy, high, like orchestral sound to it, with heavy intensity to it. Yeah, like it's just something that pops up every now and then that really gets to me. And it's the one in particular that hits me is the and I had to look it up, but it's the song's literally called "Detach," and that's the spoiler alert, I guess. It's the moment where they're slingshotting around the black hole. So Dr. Mann can get
Manhattan, yeah. He's like all blue, wears the underwear.
Totally. She's slingshotting around the black hole to get to the planet that she's trying to, I guess, go to for a new home for the humans. And when I can't remember his character's name. When Matthew McConaughey detaches from the rest of the ship, essentially to shuck himself into the black hole anyway to reduce some mass off of the ship, and that song, whatever, just has such power to it. Whenever he's doing that, and it just pops up every now and then where I'm just thinking about that scene or something like that, and it'll come up. The last one, and you put. To be fair, on the question of the week here in the notes of it, you've got movie, TV show, or commercial.
Yeah.
Empire carpet commercial.
Okay.
1-800-588.
1-800-588. Empire.
2600 Empire, I think was the phone number. But I just cannot get that stupid carpet commercial out of my head.
That's fair.
I'm a B.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Other guys,
I'm getting phone call after phone call after phone call while we're recording.
You're busy. You're busy right now.
Yeah.
I know. I am. That's funny. The 1-800. So for me, there's two major ones, and both of you have like reminded me of various others. But one of them for sure is "Where Is My Mind" by the Pixies, because it's played at the end of Fight Club. And that song is easily one for me where I will be walking around the house and I'll just start screaming with your feet in the air and your hands on the grounds. It makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. See, if you ignore John, it doesn't matter. You just ignore him. The other one,
the entire time.
The other one is the Quiznos hamster song.
Oh man!
The most dumb, grating recording you could ever imagine. Where it's like, "We love Quiznos because they are good to us. They are tasty, they are crunchy, they are warm because of toast them. We got a pepper bar."
No. If if we're, oh my God, these hamsters look, okay, never mind. If
so
we're going to
terrifying.
I mean, if we're going to go down that road, Dylan, if you're watching, you'll agree with this one. My horse is amazing. The Badger song.
Oh God.
Mushroom. It's a badger.
Mushroom.
Dude, anywhere there's an echo, you instantly think Halo. It's just like...
And recently for me, honestly, a big one, which is weird because it's not derived from it's derived from natural sounds, but we wouldn't find them naturally because of our populated areas. But the Last of Us soundtrack, like there are moments where I hear like single guitar, like strings being strung or something. And I'm just like, that's it right there. And it has nothing to do with the actual soundtrack. My brain starts playing.
I almost brought up Last of Us, and I was like, I know Brent will. And you did. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Please let us know what songs get stuck in your head when you're sitting there alone with your thoughts.
Hopefully, the song that gets stuck in their head is the new song that they listen to in the intro.
Hopefully. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers.